3 years ago, over 120,000 people of all sorts were gathered together in Rome for a very special occasion. Among them were 13 heads of state, at least one queen, countless nuns from all over the world, and 1,500 homeless people who had been given seats of honor. The most well-known face in that extraordinarily diverse group was that of the Pope himself, who was there to declare to all the world that a woman of our own lifetime was now to be honored as a saint. Of course, this woman is the tiny Albanian nun known universally by Christians and non-Christians alike as Mother Teresa, or simply as Mother. Even the Pope acknowledged, "We may have some difficulty in calling her Saint Teresa. Her holiness is so near to us, so tender and so fruitful, that in great spontaneity we will continue to call her Mother." Most of us remember Mother well. We remember her courage, her strength, her undying love for the poor and for all those who were outcast, despised, feared, for all those who lived on the margins of society. Pope Francis spoke of her as bowing down before those who were spent, left to die on the side of the road, seeing in them their God-given dignity. Mercy was the salt which gave flavor to her work. It was the light which shone in the darkness of the many who no longer had tears to shed for their poverty and suffering. She made her voice heard before the powers of the world, said the Pope, so that they might recognize their guilt for the crimes of poverty they themselves created. He held her up as a model of what the Church needs to be, of what humanity needs to be, and he decried those who turn the other way so as not to see the many forms of poverty that begs out for mercy. Choosing not to see hunger, disease, exploited persons, this is a grave sin. It is the modern sin, the sin of our day. The Holy Father was holding world leaders accountable for their indifference toward the poor and suffering in their midst. For him, Mother Teresa is the model of what we are all called to do, what we are all called to be, a field hospital for the poorest of the poor, for the suffering, for the marginalized. Mother never cared who people were, what religion they were, what they may have done, whether they were reputable or disreputable. She simply did not see it. She only saw people, fellow human beings in pain, people in need of love. And she loved. First and foremost, Mother Teresa was a mother, a true mother to all, without exception, without qualification. A real mother loves without any conditions. A real mother runs to her children, no matter who the children are, no matter what they have done, no matter how low they have fallen, no matter how poor, how broken, how sinful, how alienated they have become. A real mother does not wait for her children to embrace her. She reaches out her own arms before they can. A real mother does not wait for her children to beg for forgiveness. She has already forgiven all. A real mother dries her children's tears, no matter how many they have caused her to shed. A real mother remains a mother, no matter what. The story given by Jesus today is one of the most beloved and best known of all his marvelous stories. universally known as the story of the Prodigal Son, it could just as truly be called the parable of the jealous brother, or perhaps most appropriately of all, the story of the loving Father. For it is the Father who is the real star of the show. He gives in beautiful ways a great witness to the unbelievable and unconditional love that we think of as being so motherly. It could have been written with Mother Teresa in mind. This man has suffered as much as his boy has. We can imagine the worry, the tears, the anguished prayers each day his son was away. He has been hurt by the son, but he does not think of his own hurt, but only of that of his child, who has fallen as low as one can. His son's pain becomes his own. His love overflows. For him there is always a place at the table, a place in his heart for his child. He does not demand that his child beg for forgiveness. He does not banish him from his table until he does so. No, this loving Father runs with all his strength to embrace his son and gives him not only a place, but the place of honor. He is conscious of only one thing, his great love for his child, and that is all that counts. Of course, we know that this extraordinary Father, exhibiting the unconditional love of a mother, represents everything God is to us. Not the angry, punishing, thunderbolt-hurling, fire and brimstone false God so many insist on creating to instill terror in their own hearts and in the hearts of those around them. Not the demanding, judging, condemning idol, thirsting for the blood of the poor creatures he has sadistically created to manipulate and torture. Not the selectively loving, moody, disdaining, marginalizing horror so many worship and wholeheartedly emulate, but the true God, made known to us through the Christ, through the heroic hearts of mothers and fathers, through the Mother Teresas of the world, the God who is Father and Mother to us, who loves us indiscriminately, unconditionally, outrageously, the God who loves as though you were the only child ever made, who loves as though nothing else existed but love. As prodigal sons and daughters all, as jealous brothers and sisters all, as seeking, sinning, falling, failing, frightened human beings all, let us look to the loving heart of Mother and know that we have been given a glimpse of the heart of God.